Hungarian government will not give in to any political pressure and assume even hard arguments as well, said State Secretary Domotor, reacting to an interview with the German Chancellor. Referring to Hungary, Angela Merkel said to a Berlin paper that it was unacceptable for a government to say that it didn't care about the European Court's decision. The State Secretary considers that Brussels is stepping up implementation of the resettlement program after judgment was made in the Quota lawsuit.
It's unacceptable if a government says that they don't care about the European Court's decision, said Angela Merkel to the German newspaper Berliner Zeitung. The Chancellor added, out of the 28 countries, only 3 or 4 countries refuse strongly the solidarity distribution of migrants. The question of whether Hungary should have to leave the EU because it doesn't care about the Court's decision, the German Chancellor said that the issue is about a very delicate point, as the EU is the authority of the rule of law, and they have to bring up the issue once again at the EU summit in October. The government is not giving in to pressure because it's concerned for Europe's future, the continent's culture and its communities. In order to protect the safety of Hungary, we are willing to take these fights upon ourselves, said Domotor in a reaction to the German Chancellor's interview. The politician emphasized the government continues to stand by its ideals. It acknowledges the EU Court's decision, but Hungary will never allow a major decision such as who we live with be made anywhere else. Before, it was all about voluntary and occasional instances, a few thousand people. Now it's all about mandatory quotas without an upper threshold. We can basically say that carrying out the Soros plans has already begun. They would bring in migrants to the EU every year and spread them out amongst the member states, said Domotor. Lajos Kósa talked about how the German Chancellor needs to take into account that it's not only Hungary who doesn't approve of the mandatory quota system, because out of 120,000 people, only 30,000 have actually been resettled in the EU in 2 years' time. We would really like if the European Alliance and the European Union would work in a way that would ensure that they measure all countries by equal standards, which would mean Angela Merkel would have to hassle those other countries who also didn't comply with the mandatory quota numbers. They didn't sue, they didn't say a word, they just slyly didn't execute what was expected of them, said Lajos Kósa. Lajos Kósa emphasized Hungary will use all legal means in its power to protect their point of view regarding the issue.
Commitment of the Hungarian government to assist those countries being sources of the flow of migrants to Europe is much appreciated, said the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Budapest. Filippo Grandi, however, said that it was only one level of international solidarity and encouraged the Hungarian government to participate more extensively. He visited the Röszke transit zone and expressed his concern about asylum seekers being not allowed to leave it freely. He agreed, however, with the Hungarian position that refugees must be provided to those being truly in need and fleeing persecution and risk life. The High Commissioner emphasized that every country has the right to defend its borders.
Every country has not only the right, but I would say the duty to protect its borders and to ensure the security of its citizens. But as I always say, these obligations are absolutely not in contradiction with the obligation also and the moral duty, if you wish, to offer protection to those that flee from conflict, persecution, and other forms of violence and abuse.